It is 1 minute past 2 in the morning on January 3rd, 2026, and the humid Caribbean darkness over Caracas feels like a held breath. 700 miles away, a digital counter in a sterile U.S. operations center has just flicked from 1 to 0. This is not the start of a war, it is the start of a kidnapping. And the target sleeps 50 feet above his head. The planning is obsessive, a masterpiece of orchestrated chaos. For 9 months, a joint task force of CIA operatives and special operations planners works in a vault. Caracas' intelligence is fed into a digital twin, a perfect virtual replica of Miraflores Palace. In a remote training facility in the Nevada desert, they build a physical mock-up of the key wing. Teams practice the hallway sprint, the biometric scan, the door's reversal sequence, and the takedown until they can do it blindfolded. Every variable is gamed. Power outage, carry portable breaching charges, loyalist guards, non-lethal incapacitating rounds, followed by zip ties, presidential heart attack, a medic with a crash kit is on the lead helicopter. The air operation is equally choreographed. The decoy strike on La Carlota is timed to the second. SAD, suppression of enemy air defenses packages, loiter to instantly obliterate any SAM site that lights up. A dedicated info ops plane circles offshore, ready to jam all Venezuelan state frequencies and broadcast a pre-recorded message of calm from the opposition. The first signal is a sound so deep it is felt in the teeth, a subsonic thrum that vibrates through the foundations of the city. It is the sound of American B-2 Spirit stealth bombers, invisible to radar, opening their bays. What comes next is not an attack, but a symphony of misdirection. 2 brilliant, silent flashes momentarily turn night into day over the La Carlota airbase. Then the sound hits, twin, earth-shattering crunches. Specialized bunker buster munitions precisely shred 3/4 of a mile of runway concrete. It is a deafening, spectacular diversion designed to pull every soldier, every alarm, every pair of eyes in the capital to the west. And below it all, flying nap of the earth, is the heart of the mission. A swarm of MH-47 G Chinooks and MH-60 M Blackhawks. Inside, crammed shoulder to shoulder, are operators from the Army's Delta Force and the Navy's SEAL Team 6. Their pulse rates are calm. Their intelligence is not from satellites alone, but from a human source so precious he is known only by a code name: Caracas. For 18 months, this disillusioned Venezuelan general, watching his country starve and his own name appear on a sealed U.S. indictment, has traded secrets. He provided not just blueprints, but the psychological profile of a paranoid leader. He revealed that Maduro, in his final months, trusted only a rotating trio of bodyguards and gave their names. He confirmed the exact model of the German-made safe room, and more crucially, its one flaw. The door's hydraulic system took 4.2 seconds to reverse if entry was aborted. As the city rocks from the distant blast, the lead Blackhawk flares hard, landing in the palace's inner courtyard before the stunned guards can even unsling their rifles. In the presidential suite, Nicolás Maduro is ripped from a deep sleep, not by sirens, but by the violent buzz of a dedicated, encrypted phone on his nightstand. The voice of his most trusted bodyguard is raw with panic. "Jefe, they're inside. The safe room, now!" The gargantuan steel door of his sanctuary looms. With a shaking hand, he slams his palm against the biometric reader. A soft chime, a green light. With a hydraulic sigh, the 8-inch thick door begins to swing inward. At the first operator, call sign Reaper, rounds the final corner. His infrared laser paints a dancing red dot on Maduro's silk-clad chest. "Alto! Manos! Arriba!" The command is perfect Venezuelan Spanish, but the cadence is all Virginia. Maduro freezes, his body caught in the liminal space between prison and fortress. Within 90 seconds of the first guard's shout, he is hauled back across the marble, through the courtyard, and into the waiting helicopter. The downdraft scattering rare orchids in the palace garden, he is flown to a waiting Osprey tilt-rotor aircraft on the coast, which then transports him to the amphibious assault ship USS Iwo Jima. By the time the tropical sun breaks over the Avila Mountain, a single surreal image dominates the world's screens. The defiant caudillo of the Bolivarian Revolution, blindfolded in cuffs and dressed like a suburban dad, standing on the rain-slicked deck of an American warship. From the gilded lounge of Mar-a-Lago, President Donald Trump faces a bank of cameras. There is no teleprompter, no diplomatic language.
Late last night and early today, at my direction, the United States Armed Forces conducted an extraordinary military operation in the capital of Venezuela. Overwhelming American military power, air, land, and sea, was used to launch a spectacular assault. And it was an assault like people have not seen since World War II. It was a force against a heavily fortified military fortress in the heart of Caracas to bring outlaw dictator Nicolás Maduro to justice. This was one of the most stunning, effective, and powerful displays of American military might and competence in American history.
In the reinforced Soviet-built command post beneath Fuerte Tiuna, Vice President Delcy Rodriguez, a woman known for her ferocious loyalty and political cunning, stands before a camera. The scene is stark, lit by fluorescent lights. The remaining cabinet members, pale and shell-shocked, stand behind her. With ritualistic speed, the Chavista-stacked Supreme Tribunal of Justice administers the oath via a grainy video link. Rodriguez's address is not one of surrender, but of total war. Her voice is a scalpel of fury. They have taken the commander's body, but they will never capture the sovereign spirit of the people. The patriotic resistance is activated. Every comuna, every colectivo, every patriot to the streets. Tear the invaders apart. She signs executive orders activating the local supply and production committees as insurgent cells and authorizes the armed collectivos to defend the sovereignty of the barrios by any means necessary. Her defiant stance is a direct, humiliating rebuke to Secretary of State Marco Rubio's earlier claim that she had secretly pledged cooperation. The country now has two commanders-in-chief, one in a holding cell on the Iwo Jima, one in a concrete labyrinth, presiding over a government of ghosts. On the fractured streets of Caracas, the people are not citizens now, but hostages to fate. In the affluent, opposition-dominated eastern districts of Chacao and Baruta, crowds spill onto avenues, weeping with joy, waving Venezuelan and American flags, honking horns in a cacophony of relief. They believe the nightmare is over. But across the city, in the labyrinthine barrios of Petare and the 23 de Enero neighborhood, the gritty, sprawling heart of Chavismo, a different sound reigns, the crackle of burning tires. Masked members of the collectivos, armed with a mix of hunting rifles and military-grade weapons distributed in the final hours, build formidable barricades. They speak not of politics, but of soil and blood. Their gaze is not toward the palace, but toward the affluent east, waiting for the celebrants to try and claim the city. The silence in these hills is profound, a vacuum soon to be filled with violence. The global reaction is not mere condemnation. It is the tectonic plates of the 21st century world order shearing apart. In Moscow and Beijing, the invasion is the ultimate strategic alarm bell. They see a precedent that justifies any future action against them. The Kremlin denounces it as 21st century piracy. and immediately moves to harden cyber networks around Rodriguez's bunker, while Russian state media begins broadcasting instructions on guerrilla warfare. China freezes all diplomatic and trade talks with the U.S. and issues vague but threatening statements about fulfilling international duties to a partner, signaling the potential for a flood of dual-use technology and clandestine military advisors to sustain the bunker regime. Across Latin America, a deep historic trauma is reignited, while the conservative governments of Argentina and Chile issue tepid statements about restoring democracy. The regional giants, Brazil, Colombia, Mexico, erupt in unified, furious condemnation. They see the ghost of the Monroe Doctrine resurrected, a return to the era of gunboats and bananas. The Organization of American States, a long-standing forum for hemispheric diplomacy, shatters into irrelevance overnight. In Europe, there is only paralysis. Leaders in London, Paris, and Berlin, who for years condemned Maduro's human rights record, are now aghast at the blatant illegality of the conquest. They issue muddled, conflicting statements calling for stability and a peaceful transition. Their moral authority incinerated in the face of raw power. The liberal international order, already on life support, has its plug pulled. And finally, in a sterile white cell in the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York, the man whose capture ignited the fuse sits under 24-hour watch. Nicolás Maduro, federal prisoner hash, NYC 2000-26001, is a phantom in orange scrubs. His future is a courtroom drama, but his present is a vacuum. Yet his physical removal solved nothing. It created a supernova of chaos. The questions now are the shrapnel racing outward. Will the Venezuelan military, a fractured institution loyal only to its own pockets, hold? Or will it splinter into warlord factions, a pro-Rodriguez faction guarding the gold mines, a U.S.-aligned faction defecting to protect the oil fields, and a criminalized remnant controlling the cocaine routes? Can Delcy Rodriguez, a woman of formidable will but limited charisma, hold the revolutionary faithful together from a hole in the ground? Or will she be the next target of a drone strike or a special forces raid? When the U.S. backed opposition leaders like the diplomat Edmundo Gonzalez or the charismatic firebrand Maria Corina Machado attempt to return, will they be greeted as liberators or condemned as quisling puppets of a foreign oil grab? And what of the people? The millions who are hungry, armed, and have just seen the ultimate validation of their deepest grievances, that the world is ruled by force and force alone? The operation that began at 2:01 a.m. was a feat of technical brilliance, but it was not an end. It was a violent genesis. The story is no longer about the capture of a president. It is about the terrifying, bloody, and uncharted war for the corpse of a nation. The world holds its breath not in hope, but in dread, watching a country become the first battlefield of a new and ruthless age. The oil, it turns out, was the easiest thing to seize. Everything else is now on fire.